Hey everybody, Brian Good here on a normal schedule today. Kevin is back for just today, and then I'll be back on the evening stuff the rest of the week. And then also will be in at times over the holiday weekend. All right, lots to discuss. The main focus is going to be the weekends. Let me get you through the current good news first. Try to start with that, put you in a good mood, and then I'll not really put you in a bad mood, but I may depress you a little bit toward the end here. First off, our humidity tracker, as of this moment, we are a lot of in the blue area now. Pleasant category. We love it. That's the place we like to be. Now, tomorrow, we will slightly increase the humidity, just a smidge. A few more patches of green shown into the humid category there. Nothing dramatic, but by the time we get into Friday, well, a cold front moves in, scoops up that moisture. We get a south wind. All that moisture comes in off the Gulf of Mexico, and then there you go. We're back into the sticky category once again, into a good chunk of wave country. So, temperature-wise, outside at the moment, with that mainly clear sky, we get the typical fair weather cumulus that are dropping in, as we usually see with cold air aloft. The ground is heating up. The sun's hitting it, so it's heating the ground up. Warm air rises, goes into that cool air that's above us, unusually cool air, and then the condensation takes place, and there you go. You got cumulus clouds, but it is dry just above the cloud layer, quite dry, in fact. So the clouds can't grow. They're flat. They can't get very large in height. So that's what we're calling fair weather cumulus, because they usually happen in fair weather. And they are highly dependent on that rising heat off the ground. So obviously once the sun goes or gets lower in the sky and sets later this evening, then the ground will cool, and therefore the cloud has no support to build off of anymore, and it falls apart. So a lot of you guys know that, but it's always kind of a cool science thing to watch happen. Temperature 75 here in Louisville at almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 71 in Corydon, barely into the 70s in a lot of areas. And here's the future cast for later on tonight. Mid 50s, I think here in Louisville about 58. And some of these spots I think are going to be cooler than that, especially Carrollton, Frankfort. I would say this area, Lebanon to Campbellsville, and probably into Breckinridge County. You guys will likely be closer to 50, if not a couple of 48 or 49s. Wouldn't rule it out. Tomorrow, we again increase the humidity just a tiny bit, but it is going to be a south wind, so we're going to warm back up again, back into the 80s we go, it looks like, as we head into Thursday afternoon. So that's the good news. Now let's discuss how things are going to play out for the holiday weekend, and this continues to evolve. It still is dependent on a couple of features. Actually three features that we're going to be monitoring. One will be the cold front that is going to drop down Friday. Now, it will begin to approach, by the way, later tomorrow night. It is trying to hint at a few raindrops northwest of Louisville just before sunrise on Friday morning. We'll monitor that. At this point, though, it looks like it's going to be more of an issue into the afternoon hours when the best potential will be for some scattering of showers and thunderstorms. And notice that if it times out right, Louisville could miss both rounds. It would be early in the day to the north, and by the time the front would move in and the heat of the day would kick in, it would be south of Louisville for the activity. So some of you will be missed. A lot of you will be missed, in fact, on Friday. But not all of you. So that's the reason why the rain chance will remain for Friday. Small chance early in the day to the northwest, and then another chance later in the afternoon for the rest of us. Then the front stalls to the south. This is where I'll lose the RPM data, so I've got to switch over now to the GFS, and this is where the setup gets a little more complicated. The good news is on Saturday, well, depending on which model we look at, as you'll see, GFS is keeping the front to our south on Saturday and dry and quite warm, in fact. The other models are not hinting that. They try to move the front back to the north again and stall it around I-64, which would keep the rain chance at bay on, or intact, I should say, on Saturday. So we still have some issues on Saturday to work out. Still some conflicting data. The Euro's not completely in yet. I'll look at that and make a final decision on that one, update the app here shortly. Either way, the front does move back north as we head into Sunday, and that's where we're going to watch for showers and thunderstorms. Question is it going to be a situation where the lift, called isotropic lift, is going to be north of the front, closer to Indianapolis, leaving the rest of us just warm and only an isolated pop-up shower? Or is this boundary going to be a little more to the south, and therefore this rain band to the north will be right over us? Whoever sees this rain band will likely only see 60s and 70s for highs on Sunday. If you are able to avoid it, which some of us will likely avoid it, upper 80s to near 90. Very sharp contrast potential here on temperature for this holiday weekend because of this front. So its location is still going to be the thorn in our side. Got to nail that down. That will determine not only the rain, but how warm we actually get. So that's taking us through Sunday. But then Monday, the 4th of July, is where the problems still remain. The front will be a warm front pushing to the north, and good model agreement now. The warm front will push all the way to Indy. This means the low pressure then will follow the warm front as like a train on the train tracks. So the low will then track more to the north across Indiana and Ohio, which would drape more of a boundary in here as we head into the 4th of July afternoon and evening, more of a cold front scenario. But the problem is we're going to be on the southeast quadrant of that low pressure as it moves through. If we get enough heating, that's not a good place to be when it comes to strong thunderstorm potential. I'll explain that in just a second. Let me show you the Canadian real quick. It usually can give us a hint of how the euro is going to trend when it comes out. This is from Weather Bell. First off, here's Friday morning. It shows, really for Friday morning, it's got the, instead of the northwest of Louisville, it's got the spotty showers right over us. I think it's still going to be northwest for Friday morning. Friday, or Saturday, I should say, this is where the problems are. Remember, the GFS had us dry. It has the front down here. Canadian and the NAM, by the way, stalled out along 64, which would keep rain in the area on Saturday. And again, wherever that front stalls, in the peak heating of the day, 60s and 70s at best for highs. If you're south of that, 80s to near 90. Even on Sunday, front doesn't seem to want to move anywhere. It could be a problem for some of us, especially, it's a narrow, look how narrow that corridor is. It's only about 3, maybe 4 counties in width that it would take place. So it's going to be a tough challenge here to nail that down. Even this early, it's going to be tough to nail it down, but at least we're starting to see some focus of a story here, how this is playing out. But then as we get into 4th of July, Canadian is leaning a lot toward the GFS here on the idea the low is going to be to our north. Heaviest rain will fall to our north, but then we've got the more convective idea here. We are going to be quite warm, perhaps hitting 90 on the 4th of July, and that will set the stage then for some strong winds on the southeast side and some very winds. In fact, the GFS sounding, which is a little unusual for the GFS to be this aggressive, giving us a tornado potential. Come to be expected when you're in the southeast side of a low pressure, though. And we call this a looping hodograph. Yeah, it's looping. It is showing some instability in the area. The overall shear, though, the speed shear, not that impressive. It's enough, about 30 knots to raise our eyebrows on. But it is not an overwhelmingly high wind event here on the organized severe potential. But it's going to be the idea that we're going to be southeast of that low pressure is going to be concerning when it comes to any type of directional shear, hence the tornado potential. And we just don't really know that until we get a little bit closer. So that is one issue on the 4th of July. We don't want that. I'm working 4th of July too. I don't want that. Bad timing on that. All right, but as far as the track of the low, it has caused a shift now in the rain totals. With it being more to the north, all we got is convective rains here, mainly on Monday, and that would then keep rain totals inch or less, higher totals to the north. In the Euro, again, this is going to update here shortly, but this is the run from last night. It was still trying to focus the rain band just north of Louisville, but I think it was starting that trend of shifting the low northbound. So I think the new run will have that total 1 to 3 inches even further north. All right, guys, that's it for now. I'll try to touch base when I get a moment on what's going to happen after this holiday weekend into next week, maybe this evening if I get a moment. But the main focus we need to nail down is going to be obviously for the holiday weekend with this front, where it's placed, and then the low pressure and the thunderstorm potential on the 4th of July. Enjoy the nice weather today. I'm going to end on a good note.